Well, here we are.
Here we are. Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Carman, and I'm here with Lynne Williams, and we are here to present Interviewing to Get the Job. We are doing something brand new today with using Restream, and we hope we can make this work as we move along here. We'd love to hear from you in the chat. If you'd like to put in where you're tuning in from, we would love to see that. I'm in Colorado.
And I'm in Pennsylvania. And I assume that you've got some snow in Colorado. I've got some snow in Pennsylvania.
Oh my gosh, it's so cold here. It is frigid, and we've got about 5 inches on the ground, but it's sunny skies. So here in Colorado, it might just warm up to the 60s tomorrow. You never know.
Oh my goodness. We are probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 to 27 degrees in the burbs of Philly.
Oh, wow. That's chilly. Chilly and Philly.
So today, because we're on Restream and not just LinkedIn audio, we have a deck for you. And we're going to talk about interviewing to get the job.
Super exciting. I am really thrilled to be here. As always, Lynne, I truly appreciate collaborating with you so that we can each collectively share our expertise and help others in job search. For those of you tuning in, we know you're in a tough situation or you have experienced a tough situation in job search. I get it. I've been where you are. From my experience, the most positive thing you can do for yourself and your future is to take control of your destiny. And you do that by understanding your value and learning how to communicate that value in a dynamic, prepared fashion. That's what this session is about. Is it easy to prepare and get set up for great interviewing? No, it's not easy initially. It takes some work and some dedicated time. But the good news is, once you've done the pre-work, it is there for you as your foundation. You don't have to keep redoing it. And we'll get more in depth on that. So, what's in an interview? When I ask that question, I hear things like stress, discomfort, lots of anxiety. But there's also excitement and possibility and power in interviews. So, what is an interview really truly about? It's about opportunity for you. It's a chance for you to meet company representatives. It's a chance for you to connect your experience and skills with what they need. And it's a chance for you to practice your interviewing skills. I like to tell clients, whenever you get a chance, practice interviewing. Do it in front of a mirror. Do it in front of your significant other or your partner or whomever, or practice in your mind, whatever works for you, but practice. This is truly where the rubber meets the road when you get to the interview. And think of it as, this is when I get to really pull together all of my best and then share what I bring in relation to what they need. All right, Lynne, I'm thinking we can move to the objective slide at this point.
Absolutely.
Which I'm not able to advance the slide.
Oh my goodness.
Let me see if it works. Did that work?
There we go. Yes, that worked. All right.
Okay.
So our objective today is to provide you with some current interviewing best practices and tips that support your preparation and success in any interview process. So back to you, Lisa.
Awesome. I've got it from here. We're going to talk about what we're going to talk about. So what we're really here for is to give you specific tools and methods to really knock interviews out of the park, to ace the interviews in the future. All right. And that consists of pre-interview steps and tasks, and it consists of post-interview tasks. And Lynne and I, especially Lynne, let me tell you, she has a ton of resources for all of you. Pre-interview wise, This is everything that can be done in advance. So that's one of the good news things. You can do all this before you step into the interview. Give yourself the time and space to do that. So when we're talking about researching for relevancy, we're talking about the companies you're applying to. Also, it's all about you in terms of you capturing your strengths and successes. We're also going to walk you through some do's and don'ts. And then we're going to get deeper into behavioral interviews and STARS. Some of you may have heard of the STAR method with interviewing. We'll also talk about how you can prepare a list of questions for the interviewers. And then we'll get into the post-interview stuff and resources. Lynne, back to you.
All right. So you want to research the company and also the industry. Actually, on January 22nd, I am actually doing a presentation on how to research your target companies. So stay tuned for that. Let me see if I can put the uh, ticker up here. So there we go. If you go to greatcareers.org and you go to the events page, you will see um, the link to Job Seekers of Montclair, where I am doing that presentation on the 22nd. Another way that you can look up and learn more about the company is their LinkedIn company page, their website. Check out what people are seeing on Glassdoor. Check out their Facebook company page. Do online searches. And also, you want to track this information in a spreadsheet. I'm a big fan of Google Sheets. So I typically would use that in lieu of Excel, but whatever works for you, track this information so that you can collect it and you don't have to look it up again.
Fantastic. All right, I'm going to spend some time on this slide because this is about you and how to really determine how you're going to respond in interviews. So the first bullet is how to own your strengths and successes. So this is kind of a step-by-step, if you will. So if you like taking notes, this is your chance to take some notes for sure. So first of all, before you even start thinking strengths and successes, create a document that you can easily find on your computer or your tablet or laptop, whatever, that has a title that is My Successes and Strengths, or it could be Lisa's Wonderfulness, or it could be The Best About Me, or whatever you choose to title that file, that document. Just make sure you can find it in the future. So once you have your document and it's ready for you to start typing, or in your journal, whatever works for you, identify your strengths. So when we're talking about strengths, we're talking about several different things. Your strengths could be skills. And when I talk skills, I'm talking hard and soft skills, things like organization, financial analysis, um, leadership, strategic planning, project management. I'm throwing out some of those harder skills. Also, any software that you are familiar with or methodologies that you know how to use and work through. Soft skills, those are those skills that, even though they're called soft, I think they're about the most important skills you've got out there when you're in the interview, especially, and when you're in the work environment, trying to get results and make things happen. So soft skills are things like communications, conflict management, presentational speaking, and there's lots more. But the whole point is develop your list of your strengths, whether they're skills, knowledge, or personality traits. So I just talked about a bunch of skills. Knowledge would include your industry experience, your education and your training, your work history in general. What are your main areas of expertise in your work? What about, do you keep up with industry advances? And you can actually do that in your chosen industry by making sure you follow the companies and organizations and thought leaders that are part of your industry in your LinkedIn profile. That's really important. When you follow these organizations and thought leaders, you will start seeing their content, their posts in your home feed on LinkedIn. So that can give you a leg up when you're in the interview with a company. Let's see, personality traits. That's another part of your strengths. We've all worked with people that can either make or break the work environment. I think you all know what I'm talking about. So you want to show that you're one of those people with a personality that helps the company get things done. You have a personality that can work with other people. You are a proactive go-getter type, or maybe you're an observer and you have key strengths in analyzing what you observe in other people. Other personality traits, are you humorous? Do people think you're funny? Do you prefer working in a busy, chaotic environment, or do you really like being behind the scenes, working in the background? Do you aspire to leadership roles? I mean, talk about who you are and what you're all about. Personality matters. The other thing you might want to consider in a strength is special attributes. Now, these are unusual things that it may be normal for you, but not necessarily normal for others. Like maybe you have a knack for dealing with difficult people. So you always get the customers who are irate and you always turn them away. And by the time you're done talking with them, they're smiling. Or maybe you're really, really good at answering complex questions or translating complexity. Or maybe you're able to see situations from multiple perspectives, or you have a big picture view, yet you're really good at tactical execution. Those are other special attributes. So make sure you're listing all of your strengths. And I know some people have a hard time even understanding that they have strengths. You do, I'm telling you. If you've been working and you're alive in this life, you've got strengths to share. If you're unsure of them, ask someone you know and trust to identify your top 6 strengths. You might have some nice surprises there. All right. Now, once you've identified all your strengths in your document, in your About You document, then start thinking about your successes. And I suggest that you start easy, start simple. Just make a list of all of your achievements. Don't try to build them out yet. We'll get to that in later slides. We'll talk more in depth about that. So make a list of your achievements. Maybe start from the most recent, going backwards in time, or whatever comes to mind. You're brainstorming, but these are things that you have actually achieved in the past that you've accomplished. So make a list of them, just so you've got them down in your document. All right. In terms of tell me about yourself, that is a key question in any interview that has a tendency to trip people up. So be prepared. So the sub bullets are all about telling you what to do to be prepared. Connect your skills with skills from the job description, so that you want to be relevant to those interviewers in that organization. Make sure you're telling your story in a brief, unique, and energized way. Show your personality in telling your story. Identify your relevant strengths and achievements, and maybe focus on one big accomplishment when you're telling me about yourself. So I'm going to just model for you an example of me answering the "Tell me about yourself, Lisa" question. I'd be delighted to tell you about who I am and how I get things done and what I'm all about. I'll start with my experience that's related directly to the Director of Talent Management role we're focused on today. I've been running my own business, Resonating Resumes, for 20 years, and I help executives and corporate professionals put their best foot forward in job search. So I write resumes, LinkedIn profiles, executive bios, cover letters, pretty much anything to do with career transition. I tackle that, write it, and also guide clients in how to do that. This work truly is my destiny, and I love what I do every single day. Now, the reason I'm here at this point in my career, I'm ready for a new challenge, and I'm ready to pursue my goal of a leadership role in a career transition firm leading a team of talent acquisition specialists. I've also, in my past, led teams of executives in managing the candidate selection process. So I have vast experience doing this type of work and leading people and teams. I've personally written thousands of marketing tools like resumes and LinkedIn profiles for clients. And still, every single time I meet a new client, I'm excited. That is truly the fun part for me. Meeting the client, digging deep to understand their successes and strengths, and then guiding them to take ownership for their value. All right, Lynne, on to you.
All right, we're going to talk about some do's. Now, you want to exude confidence, energy, a warm smile, and eye contact. Now, here's a little tip that's not in the deck, which we will share a little bit later. If you are doing a Zoom interview, if you were to get an index card and you were to cut a hole in the middle of it, then you could pop that and tape it around your camera so that you are looking at your bullet pointed notes that are on that little note card. Now, if you happen to be at an interview live, it's always good to ask if you can bring your pad out to take some notes. Ask permission. And usually, when you have a notepad, it's a portfolio folder, and on the left there's a little pocket, and on the right you have your lined paper. So on the left, you might have a piece of paper that has a few key words and bullet points so that you can remember those star stories, the topics that you want to prepare. Again, we'll talk about the star stories in a little bit, but you definitely want to uh, do good preparation for your interview. Wear the attire for the job that you want, not the job you have. So if you are looking to wear a suit and tie, or a dress and a suit, or a pantsuit as a woman, just look professional. Even though there may be some dress codes where it may be more casual, I found out from PwC Philadelphia that if you did come in a suit, you had not done your homework because you would be considered to be overdressed. So, my suggestion, even though I'm telling you dress for the job you want, not the one you have, it's always best to call and find out what the attire is that you should wear to an in person interview. So that way you are feeling like a better cultural fit, when you first get in there. Um, you want to be well put together. Make sure you have good posture, and take copies of your resume. And if you are doing it in person, make sure you print that out on some nicer interview paper or resume paper, rather than just photocopy paper. So, be prepared with sharing some kudos that you've received or recommendations also. On my LinkedIn profile, I have um, copied screenshots in a Google Doc of recommendation letters that I have so that I can always refer to those. Those are above and beyond the recommendations that I receive on my profile. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lynne. Now, you would think that the don'ts would be obvious, but as a leader who's run hundreds of interviews and taught executives how to conduct interviews, I know these happen all the time. So these don'ts are commonplace. I have had on more than a couple of occasions a candidate answer the phone in the middle of an interview. Now, if it's an emergency situation, maybe you're concerned about getting a call from your child or someone's sick or something like that, that's totally understandable. But you typically don't look at your phone, like check a text or anything while you're talking to the interviewers. Um, these do's and don'ts also apply to all interviews, whether they're phone interviews, online, Zoom or Google, or in-person or panel interviews. So keep these in mind no matter what type of interview you're going for. Appear interested. I've interviewed people who acted like they could care less about this interview. And that is not the way to get my interest and to get my attention and be memorable. So make sure one of the ways you can appear interested is like in the do's slide that Lynne covered, leaning forward, acting like you're really focused on what that person has to say. Of course, when they can see you, that matters. But even on the phone, you can be chiming in with your questions or with comments in between their questions or they're talking to you about the role. Don't ever speak negatively of the past. Even if you came from a very negative situation, whether it was a bad boss or the achievement didn't have great positive results. If you have an achievement in your history that has negative end results, then you speak about what was learned along the way and what you did achieve. You don't talk about the negative stuff. In terms of talking about a negative boss, just don't do it. That shows the interviewers that you might talk about them in the future in that way. Make sure you're speaking positively in terms of teamwork, getting along with others, communications, positive, positive, positive. When you walk into an interview, you're enthusiastic, you're positive, and you're focused. Don't display unfocused body language, like not leaning in if they're able to see you. Sitting all relaxed and laid back with your feet on the desk. I've had people do that in the middle of interviews. So your body language is something that people will pick up on before they pick up on what you're talking about, what you're even saying. So it matters. Don't wander in your communications. This is all going to come to you from the prep work you're going to do in advance. Be very concise and to the point. Make sure you leave room for personality, for joking around, laughing or smiling, but be to the point. Don't go down a rabbit hole and not be able to get out. If you find you go down a rabbit hole, then say, I think I just digressed there. Let me come back to the point. Okay, and don't leave without asking your own questions and understanding next steps for the interview. I did want to say one more thing about online interviews. Like if you're doing a Zoom interview, make sure that you launch Zoom in advance and ensure that you don't need a system update. I myself have tried to join a Zoom meeting and hadn't been on Zoom for a couple of weeks. I get in there right on time, but my system needed a Zoom update to run it. So I ended up being late for my own meeting. So don't do that in interviews. Just launch whatever system it is in advance and make sure you don't need updates. Allow the interviewers to finish the question, then respond with your answer. Even on phone interviews, you can display enthusiasm and energy for the opportunity. It's how you reply and interact, as well as the questions you bring to the table. And now, Lynne, I believe we're ready to start talking behavioral interviews.
Okay, well, first I want to acknowledge that Stacy Morrissey says, I'm here. This is very helpful. So she's chiming in from Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Wonderful.
And our wonderful Merrill Cass is watching live from Paramus, New Jersey.
Oh,
And he says the wind chill factor is pretty doggone cold. I hear you, Merrill. It is cold here in Pennsylvania, too. So let's talk about preparing for behavioral interviews. You need to have your resume written with bullet points that start with a verb. It would not be an ing word. It would either be in the present tense or the past tense for a current job if you completed some projects, and all the verbs will start in the past tense for your past jobs. Every single bullet point should have an accomplishment in it, an achievement, a percent, a dollar, or a number amount. You want to be able to tell how you helped a company make money, save money, save time, improve processes. So that would be the results, some quantifiable accomplishment or metric. Um, Anything you want to add to that, Lisa?
Gosh, I guess coming back to your document of your successes and strengths, that's where you've got your list of achievements that we just talked about. Then under each, do exactly what Lynne just described. Start flushing out those achievements. Start with an action verb. Describe your role, situation, and what you did. Then end with results. And don't underestimate the power of qualitative results as well. Quantitative speaks volumes. You're right, Lynne. Absolutely. We need quantitative metrics whenever possible. But what else was better because of you? Did you improve teamwork? Did you help shift an underperforming project or team into high performing status? And there might be quantitative metrics around that too, but qualitative matters as well.
All right. Stacy has a question,
Yeah.
and I will defer to you to answer this. How do you respond to the question of why did you leave your previous position, or when they probe to see how you respond to a negative previous position or company?
Well, you do your best to talk about what you learned and gained from that opportunity. Show how you had impact, even if it wasn't the impact you intended. You can say that. My intention was to impact in this way, but in the end, what actually happened was the budget was pulled for no one else's fault. But we did so much. We made such great progress. And we actually positioned the company for more change moving forward from that experience. So there's ways that you can talk about a negative experience in a positive fashion. And that's especially important for practicing. Really get that down in your brain so that you can't say it wrong. Make sure that you understand exactly how you're going to respond to negative questions. There's also the question that comes up of what's your greatest weakness. So whenever you get the weakness question, make sure that whatever weakness you're talking about, you're aware of it and you have strategies to cope with it. You work on it every day, or it's something that you know about. That's the key, your awareness, and that you work on it. Did that
Yeah, I
make
would
sense?
also add on that make sure that if they ask about a weakness, it's not one of the requirements in the job description. Pull out something else.
Excellent point. Yes.
All right, we have another comment, Lisa, to tag on to the Zoom. And Christopher G. Johnson out of the Detroit metro area. He's not only a LinkedIn top voice, but he is a Zoom producer and Zoom
Ooh.
expert. And he would like to echo your recommendation to log on to Zoom 15 minutes ahead of your interview to ensure the system updates have time to be downloaded. So I'm going to tag on a little bit more to that is make sure you have a Zoom account set up. It's free to set up a Zoom account because you don't want to run into problems where you're asking them for the codes or passwords or whatever. So have your own Zoom account so that you can just click on the link that they send. Now, back on Christopher Johnson, he collaborated with me and co-authored an article, which you will find in my last LinkedIn newsletter. And we're also going to be collaborating on another upcoming article. So stay tuned for that if you want to learn more about Zoom. Every time I have Christopher speak about Zoom or and part of collaborating on this article, I learned something new, and I've been using Zoom pretty much almost daily since the pandemic. So he's the man to follow on Zoom.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear, Lynne. And I totally appreciate Christopher and Meryl, all these wonderful experts and top voices joining us today. We truly appreciate your support. All right, let's move on to the STAR methodology, which is really what Lynne just expressed, what she just talked about with preparing for behavioral interviews. So you may have heard this talked about as targeted selection interviewing. Years ago, like we're talking more than 20 years ago, that's what I grew up on in corporate. And my job was to teach the leaders how to conduct STAR interviews and do it well and do it right and limit liability to the company, actually. So when you're thinking about your stars, those are your achievements that you're building into stars. And essentially, it comes down to four basic steps: setting the scene and providing context for your story, describing the challenge or responsibility you faced, explaining the specific actions you took, and sharing the outcome of your actions. And that's where we want those metrics and qualitative results whenever possible. So that is your STAR, STAR, situation, task, action, result. So this works on your resume. And every single bullet on your resume should not be just a responsibility. It should be a star. It should be an achievement bullet. Stars are one and the same as achievement bullets in your resume. So just avoid listing a bunch of responsibilities. Think of it this way: anyone can list the job responsibilities they're supposed to be doing, but not everyone can show their true impact by showing stars and your results. That's why you want to focus on this type of interview and bullet structure. All right. Oh, another hint for you in terms of, if you don't want to remember situation, task, action, result, or star, then just think beginning, middle, and end for each of your interview responses, for each of your achievement responses. So you're including what you did, situation you're faced with, and the results, beginning, middle, and end. And I think you've got a slide next on explaining why we do behavioral.
Yeah, it could also be CAR, which is challenge, action, result. It could be PAR, problem, action, result. And there's other acronyms that are used, but I'll just head on to why we want to do, why companies want to do behavioral interviews. We have 7 reasons. I'm going to cover the first 4, and Lisa will cover the last 3. So typically, companies think, well, your past behavior at a company is going to predict your future performance. It also assesses soft skills. There's, like communication, problem solving, teamwork, leadership, adaptability, decision making, conflict resolution. So when we give the link to this deck, I'm also going to provide a link to my article, and I have a list of 49 soft skills that you could potentially be asked about behavioral interview questions on. So that resource is coming to you also. Uh, it also reduces unconscious bias, compared to more casual interviews. This way, companies are prepared when they ask their specific questions, and they can evaluate the different candidates and how they answer them. And it also helps determine a cultural fit. So, how have you handled workplace scenarios in the past? And that might project how you might fit in the company to be's culture as a potential candidate.
Fantastic. Continuing why companies use behavioral interviews, they can really reveal authenticity. So asking for the detailed examples does make it harder for anyone to give really embellished answers or untrue answers or very rehearsed answers. And it's about standardizing the process. So using a consistent set of questions allows the interviewers to more objectively compare candidates because they're being asked the same types of questions around the same categories of behavior. So that really helps the company. I mentioned earlier, I used to teach executives how to conduct behavioral interviews and use the STAR methodology. in order to limit liability to the company. So that's a big reason companies adopted behavioral interviews, aside from the practical aspect. Um, it helps companies limit liability in terms of candidates coming back and saying, I wasn't treated fairly in the interview process. Oh, really? Well, we happen to have these interview guides for every candidate, and we have asked the same questions of each candidate, and this is how you rated in terms of criteria in your responses. So it really does help companies in that way limit costs.
And
Uh,
companies do have rubrics that they use so
yes,
that if
they
there's a
do.
panel of interviewers, there are rubrics where people can circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the rating scale is, and give their opinion on the candidate's answers.
Absolutely. You're right about that. Okay, the final why behind using behavioral interviews is to really identify any red flags. So, these behavioral questions, your responses can reveal how you manage stress or conflict or uncover other issues about your personality or how you operate with people that you don't necessarily see on paper. So, make no mistake, behavioral questions help interviewers identify issues with candidate behavior. So keep that in mind as you're preparing as well. And next, we have an example of a behavioral response.
Okay. So, at the bottom of that last slide was a resource to the greatcareers.org website, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. And we have some articles there on interview prep, as well as 3 videos from Les Sigarnik, who used to be a recruiter. And he's got some really good tips that you might want to watch on those videos also. So, let's talk about um, a star example. I'll hit the first 2 examples, or the first 2 items, and then Lisa will follow up with the rest of them. So here's an example of how somebody might be asked how they might troubleshoot a complex electrical issue. So I'll do situation task, and then Lisa will do action and result. So, situation, I might say, at my previous job, we encountered an intermittent fault in a large substation transformer causing sporadic power fluctuations. The task was I needed to identify the root cause of the issue and implement a solution quickly to prevent potential outages.
And to further that star response, the action is I first reviewed the transformer's maintenance history and recent test results. Then I used a power factor tester and a transformer winding tester to conduct thorough diagnostics. After identifying a potential issue with one of the bushings, I coordinated with my team to safely de energize the transformer. We replaced the faulty bushing and performed additional tests to ensure the problem was resolved. Overall, the overall result is the transformer was back online within 24 hours and we experienced no further issues. This quick resolution prevented any customer outages and saved the company an estimated $50,000 in potential lost revenue and emergency repair costs. So, that in a nutshell, everyone, is an example of a star response.
And you've got the metrics in there, the qualitative accomplishments that you can share.
That's right. You've got both,
Mhm.
right? Qualitative
Yep.
and quantitative. And that brings us to
When you're asked at the end of the interview, do you have any questions? Your answer, Lisa, is always
yes, yes, I have
absolutely.
questions.
Of course, you always want to be prepared with questions, and your friend ChatGPT can help you prepare a list of questions. You just pop the job description in and ask it a question. What kind of question should I ask at an interview for this job description? And voila, it'll be right there.
Perfect. So when you're considering questions to ask for the interviewers, usually it happens at the end of the interview, but it might be in the middle of it too. But usually at the end, it's your chance to ask. So always focus on open-ended questions. Get them talking to you, explaining things. How do you measure good versus exceptional performance? That's showing the interviewer that that's your intention. You plan to be an exceptional performer, and then they can talk to you more about the performance management process. Excuse me. Why is this position open? How long has it been open? That'll give you an idea of what you're walking into. If it's been open for quite some time, it might be a bit more of a mess than it was in the beginning when it was first vacated. Asking what is your biggest challenge right now? Hopefully, one of the interviewers you're talking to has insights on that. Could be the boss, someone you'd be reporting to. It could be a team member. What kind of training can I expect? How do you manage change? You mentioned there's room to grow down the road. Can you describe what that might look like? And what are some of the unwritten rules in the department or company? There's always unwritten rules. And a few more for Lynn to go over.
All right. You always want to ask about work-life balance if that is important to you. And you can ask if there's opportunities to work hybrid or remote. You want to know what gets rewarded. How do people get recognized? Recognition is important. Why do you and other people like working here? Tell me about the culture. Have you interviewed others, including internal and external candidates? That will help you kind of find out where you are positioned in the process. Does the company perform annual reviews with merit increases? Does the company plan company-wide events or team events? That's a big culture question right there. And what are the next steps and timeline for filling the role? That way, that might give you a hint as when and how you're going to follow up.
Fantastic. And once you're at the end of the interview, post-interview starts. So remember, if there's anything in particular you committed to provide the interviewers, that you follow up and do that. And they should do the same. If they committed to getting back to you on Thursday that week and you don't hear from them, that's your opportunity to reach out on email and ask what the status is. If you're supposed to get them a list of references, get that to them ASAP. Also, make yourself stand out further from the crowd by writing an email thanking them for their time and energy during the interview. It's a chance for you to also mention something important about your skill set that maybe you talked about during the interview. Also, writing a snail mail thank you letter goes a long way. And let me tell you, you will stand out from the crowd writing a snail mail thank you letter. It's a great way to make yourself stand out. Let's see.
And if you're going to write a snail mail letter, make sure that if you have a panel, that you include something slightly different in each letter to make it personalized, perhaps to the question that the interviewer was asking about.
That is excellent. That is a perfect suggestion. Yeah, make sure you're connecting with them in these ways. That's really important. All right. And then we come to the queen of resources, and I'm handing it back over to Lynn.
All right. So I have got a few pages of resources to share with you, and I just shared the link to the deck as well as to a very comprehensive article I wrote on interview prep. So I'm not going to really go over all of this because you've got the link to the deck now. It's right in the chat. And Lisa, so if you want to advance it a little bit further.
You bet.
All right. Here's some more resources. There's ONET Online and Bureau of Labor Statistics, and there's a couple career planning guides from Virginia Tech and MIT, etc. The 16 personalities is a personality test, if you want to explore that. And on to the next one. And then there's a whole bunch of AI and other resources that you might want to explore and play with. So um, I'm sure there's more because technology is happening very quickly. So I would like to, I'm going to put a link in the chat. I hope it comes up. Yep, it looks like it's coming up. If you would like to come up on stage and ask some questions, you can either come up on video or you can come up off video. That would be up to you. So I gave you the invitation link, and I'll see if, let's see, Michelle. Okay, we're gonna invite Michelle up and welcome.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey, can you hear me? Hi, can you hear
Yeah,
me
okay.
okay? Great, perfect. I do have a question, and I'm hoping you can shed some light on that. And I also realize there could be many, many answers. My question is, I saw a position that was very matching, my background and so forth, and I applied for it. Within 2 days, I also reached out to somebody in the company. I've already had 2 informational interviews with folks who work in the department, and those people want to connect me to others. But now I've noticed that the position no longer is showing on their website. What can that mean? I guess it could mean a lot of things, but what do you think?
Do you want me to take it or you want to take it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. So first of all, Michelle, you're doing all the right things. So what you're doing is exactly what I'd be recommending. You applied, you reached out to someone in the company to connect, and you're talking to people. You've started the conversation. So you're moving, you're doing it right. Now, the fact that the position is no longer showing, you'll probably never know the reason for that. So don't get hung up on it. Move on to the next one. Keep talking to those connections now that you have your network and looking at other opportunities. I think in career search, it's so hard to not take it personally when you either don't get the interview or never hear from them, but it's not a personal decision. Oftentimes they decide to withhold making the decision. They decide to table it for a while. They decide the budget isn't there for it. They decide, well, let's wait, another 6 months and try again later. Sometimes there are roles out there that they're not even hiring for, but it looks like an open position. So you're never going to understand all of that part of it. So don't be hung up on it and let it go and move on to the next opportunity. Did that help, Michelle?
Yeah, it did. And it pretty much aligns with what happened to me once before. Similar kind of thing, different company, but situation. I was recommended into a position. The position just sat. And finally, I found out that they withdrew the position because they were reorging the department.
Out of your control.
But it was like a month before I found
Right.
that
And
out.
it's out of your control completely. So try not to take it personally and move on with power and purpose.
Okay. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much.
All right. Any other questions you have, Michelle?
Not at the moment, but Happy
All
New
right.
Year and glad to see you're here on Restream. I'm not sure. Actually, I do have a question. I'm not able to post in the chat, only the private
Oh,
chat.
interesting.
Do you know why?
I don't know why.
Me neither.
Last thing that shows is messages from audience will display here. I put something in the private chat and it doesn't display there, so that's not the solution.
Yeah, this is new to Lynn and I too. We're learning on this just like you are.
This is our very
Okay.
first inaugural meeting on
Yeah.
Restream. So, and we have it streaming out. I have it streaming out on my LinkedIn, the Great Careers YouTube, and the Great Careers Facebook page. And Lisa, where do you have it restreaming?
I have it restreaming on my LinkedIn page and my Facebook page.
All right. So this is, trial. We hope that everything records and the sound works well and whatnot. I did see that some of the channels we cannot get some of the comments on, but perhaps Michelle, did you try it on LinkedIn?
No, I'm actually
Oh,
on Restream itself. I'm on studio.restream.io and then slash the, well, now I guess because I'm on stage, it's a different
yeah,
link,
yeah.
maybe. No, it's not the link that you gave
So
me, actually.
perhaps try the event that is in the featured section on my profile. And I don't know, Lisa, did you put it in the featured section of yours?
I did. It's the first thing featured.
All right. So
Okay.
Meryl Cass has been able to put comments in,
Yeah.
as well as Stacy Morrissey. So we'll
Okay.
live and learn through this experience. But I first want to turn it over to Lisa, and I would like to share. Look at that. I got the little ticker at the bottom with
Oh,
Lisa's website.
you
So,
are.
Lisa, you want to explain a little bit more about what it is that you do?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much, Lynn. I have been running my business, Resonating Resumes, for 20 years now, and I absolutely love what I do. I do have 20 years in corporate America prior to starting Resonating Resumes in a variety of roles. And I was fortunate enough to discover my true destiny with this resume work and LinkedIn profile work. It truly is something that I will do until I retire. And I know I'm making a difference in people's lives every single day, and I help people make progress. I mean, that's what speaks to me. Um, I am also a contributing author to an Amazon best-selling book called Get Hired by Al Smith, and that was a wonderful experience to partake in. And I'm here to help. I welcome connections. Please go to my LinkedIn profile. You'll find me at Lisa Carman resumes. And my website is resonating-resumes.com. And I welcome emails and any reach outs by phone as well. I'm called the resume expert, the resume guru, and LinkedIn expert. So can't wait to meet you all.
How do I leave the stage?
How do you leave the stage? Okay. I
Oh,
will I will have to cause for that to happen, I guess. Here you go. Thanks for coming.
you did it.
Okay. I did it. Yes, I'm figuring out all these buttons, so this is exciting. All right. So, a little bit about me. I've been involved in the career services business since 2013. I was actually a job seeker for 11 and a half months. And nope, go back. Yeah. And I got involved in this group called Philadelphia Area Great Careers Group, which was a meetup group. The owners of that meetup group asked me if I wanted to take it over in 2015, and I gladly accepted. And in 2017, I turned it into a 501c3 nonprofit because I felt it helped community. And in 2019, we built greatcareers.org as our website. So we run about 18 to 25 events a month. Obviously, this one's on Restream. I'm also doing a recruiter on call with jobs where I have a guest recruiter every month. We used to do that on LinkedIn audio, but now it's going to Clubhouse. And Clubhouse is through the Thought Leadership Branding Club, which I just put down at the bottom. Um, so Thomas Pauner is going to be my January guest. He is a career coach and resume writer and LinkedIn profile writer, but he also is a recruiter. And he does recruiting for certain companies that, and he does it through LinkedIn. So, you really need to have your LinkedIn profile optimized with the right keywords if you want to be found by him. So he's going to share the jobs that he is trying to recruit for. So one more slide.
Oops, I have to go back to the slideshow. Sorry. Okay.
All right. So here's the QR code to the deck, but I also put the link to the deck in the chat as well as in the private chat that we have left over from when Meryl created that last year when we had LinkedIn audio. and there's also a link to my article. Those are all case sensitive. So you must type capital letters where you see them. You must type lowercase where you see them. So here is the link to the deck. It's interviewing Get Job with a capital I, G, and J, along after the bit.ly link with the slash in it. So the Great Careers Group is, again, a meetup group originally, but all our registration information and links will be on the events page. So, Lisa, if you will allow me to share for a minute, you want to stop share.
Okay.
I'm going to give some kudos to the Thought Leadership Branding Club. So let me click on this window. In case you're not aware, thoughtleadershipbranding.club, not .com, I've been involved with since 2021. So, gosh, 4 years. I can't believe it. So I just wanted to show you the events page because I update this for the club every weekend or at least by Monday morning. And we have a weekly Zoom masterclass that is probably more entrepreneurial related. So if you are an entrepreneur and want to join, there's the join us button, but you can attend 2 of the Thursday meetings, the Zoom masterclass meetings for free before joining. But there is a lot of other, there are a lot of other events available on Clubhouse, on Restream, on Zoom, etc. in the club every single week. There will be more that will be coming next week. Some people are, took off for the holidays. So again, check out the thoughtleadershipbranding.club. So that is my story. I'm sticking with it. And thank you, Lisa, for joining me here today.
Oh, thank you for your courage in saying we can do this. We're getting techie.
There you go. So thank you, everyone, for bearing with us through our inaugural meeting. And I think things went well.
I think they did. And we believe in all of you. Invest in yourself and take the time and effort to prepare for your interviews, and you will knock it out of the park. Keep adding to your successes document. You're just going to be adding to it and adding to it. Go with long paragraphs if that helps you, and then drill it down for the resume bullets. It all works. Our hope for you is health, happiness, and prosperity moving forward. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And if you have any ideas of what you would like us to cover next month, we can always do LinkedIn profile reviews, but we can do some resume tips. We can do all kinds of tips. This Careerland is not just meant for job seekers. It's also meant for client seekers as well as employed people. How can you advance in your career? So we will provide career tips, but we'd love to hear from you as to what you would like us to cover. So thanks so much for coming, everyone. I'm going to end the stream. Bye now.